This game had staples of a UCL classic written all over it, but what exactly stood out tactically from this game? City's setup in possession would see John Stones step into the midfield with Rodri, as they usually do, which is something we're used to seeing. That would then leave Akanji at right centre-back, Diaz as the central centre-back, and Gvardiol as the left centre-back. Real Madrid noticed this from the off, and they went to attack that side against Akanji. Of course, without Kyle Walker, they were left with a gaping hole in terms of rest defence and recovery speed. So therefore, Vinicius and Rodrigo both drifted over to that left-hand side, the right-hand side channel for City, so that they could attack and really focus on that side of the pitch, use their speed advantage over Akanji and get in behind that back line. Bellingham didn't have the greatest game, but he was involved in this little triangle that they created with Bellingham, Vinicius and Rodrigo, and this was a perfect example for their second goal of how Vinicius getting on the ball and being able to release Rodrigo in behind would cause a lot of errors for Manchester City and cause a lot of chances on the break in transition for Real Madrid. In this scenario, Rodrigo was able to isolate himself out on that left-hand side with Akanji, and of course, in a foot race 1v1, Rodrigo would fancy himself against Akanji. If this was Kyle Walker, that might not be the case, but considering it was Akanji, this is something that Rodrigo and Vinicius both tried to pinpoint, as they knew that they could get the beating of Akanji in behind with their pace. Here is another example of that triangle forming in the middle of the pitch. This is where Toni Kroos, I think it is, wins the ball back. And from here, Bellingham, Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo all break. And they look to go in behind that right-hand side of Akanji. Because as you can see, Akanji has stepped up towards the ball. This leaves the space in behind for them to attack, which is what they do. And they manage to get a shot on target, but they do not take their chance. So it's safe to say that without Kyle Walker, Real Madrid knew the assignment and they knew exactly what they wanted to do to hurt Manchester City. But how could Kyle Walker returning to the team affect Manchester City and help their chances of defending against Real Madrid, but also hurt Real Madrid and their chances of beating Manchester City, especially at the Etihad? Here was the game from the Bernabeu last season, and this is how Manchester City lined up with Kyle Walker starting as that right back, but of course becoming this 3-2-4-1 with him as the right-sided centre-back, almost just the right side channel recovery defender. He was a massive factor for stopping the Vinicius Jr. counter-attacks and the pace of Vinicius Jr. As you can see here, 6 tackles, 4 clearances, a block shot, an interception. Yes, he was dribbled past once, but this type of recovery and pace defending and these defensive actions were key to stopping Vinicius Jr. I remember lots of jokes at the time about Kyle Walker pocketing Vinicius. So this really shows the importance of Kyle Walker in this game and in these types of fixtures where you've got these bursting, counter-attacking, fast wingers that can hurt you. Compare this to Akanji last night, who I don't even think did a terrible job at right-back, but it exposes them on that break. And as you saw in those examples used earlier, when he steps up, he's not got that same recovery pace to deal with the pace of Rodrigo and Vinicius, especially when they doubled up on that side. So yes, he made 4 tackles, but that was more so when he was stepping up and engaging before they could get beyond him. As soon as they were beyond him, that is when Real Madrid could really threaten and get in behind. This is something that Kyle Walker is so imperious at Manchester City for, even though some have said he's had a poor season this year, and I don't necessarily disagree. I think he's been worse than he has been for them. But what you can't take away from him is he's probably one of the best recovery defenders in the league, in terms of that recovery pace and his ability to eat up ground quickly and stop counter-attacking teams. So in a game against Madrid where they've got wingers that excel in this area, he's very important for that. So what did everybody make of this game? If you notice that I'm a bit breathless, it's because I've been a bit ill lately, so if the commentary is a little bit like I'm trying to catch my breath at points, then I apologise. But I want to know what you guys think of this game, what your key takeaways from the game were, what you think will happen in the second leg, and who do you think will win the Champions League this season?